paranormal activity gets caught on security cameras all the time. It's not surprising that out of tens of thousands of people who stream every single day, some will catch hauntings right in the act. Welcome back to Top 5 Central, where today we count down 5 Twitch streamers who caught ghosts on camera. RubiZ is a good guy, a good friend. When one of RubiZ's buddies asked him to come over to his apartment and watch his cat while he was away, there was no way that he could possibly say no. What kind of friend would he be if he denied a simple request like that? RubiZ didn't know it at the time, but agreeing to pet sit for his friend was a decision that had set him on the path of one of the scariest experiences he had ever been a part of. As a streamer, RubiZ didn't want to just sit around at his friend's place. That would be boring and a waste of time that he could spend streaming. So instead, he decided to jump on his Twitch account and give his viewers the best stream that he could. Maybe if RubiZ hadn't decided to stream that night, things would have gone differently, or maybe he was doomed to be haunted that night. Either way, the events that unfolded on his stream would stick in his mind forever. Over the course of the night, RubiZ was tormented by something unusual that seemed to want nothing more than to freak the streamer out as much as possible. Behind RubiZ, there were 2 doors, and over the course of the night, the ghost that was tormenting him would slowly open the door and then slam it shut again.
Oh my!
It would mess with the lights out in the hallway. It would even move around chairs and fling boxes off of tables.
Guys, it's not like we needed any sleep or anything.
RubiZ, of course, was fairly freaked out by everything that was going on during the stream. As with any streamer in a stressful situation, RubiZ tried to chill out by playing some video games. The ghost wouldn't stop and began to bang the doors and throw things around with even more strength. Even as RubiZ escaped from the apartment during the night, clearly done with all the paranormal activity, the specter slammed the door and pulled a chair around. But the strangest thing on this spooky night for RubiZ? The way the cat was acting. If this was a prank and it was RubiZ's friend all along, the cat probably would have known, but it acted just as terrified as RubiZ, cowering away in the corner. Krim of SayWhatTV is no stranger to scary games. In June 2016, he decided to play a game known as The Joy of Creation. This was a terrifying fan game based around the incredibly popular Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. The game itself is terrifying, but there is no doubt that the events Krim was subject to would scare much more than a video game ever could. Krim was live streaming with some of his friends when he was suddenly visited by something that could never be described as friendly. The ghost in this video is nowhere near as violent or active as the one that attacked RubiZ in our previous clip, but it's able to freak out the streamer just as much. When you're already tense and scared due to a freaky video game, you're going to be much more reactive to anything that goes on in your own house, and that's exactly what happens with Krim. The ghost that haunted Krim seemed to have a particular interest in technology, able to not just make things move around his room, but actually affect his computer. The ghost managed to make the screen skip and lag, which shouldn't happen on a game with such simple graphics. The room was also incredibly cold, enough to be more noticeable than usual. But then Krim dies in the game, and the ghost turns things up a notch. Just seconds after Krim dies in the game, all the lights in his room go off, and the stream stops working. Was this a normal power cut? That seems unlikely. The streamer's PC is still on and recording his footage. The only things that went down were the lights and the internet. As you can imagine, Krim didn't want anything to do with the spooky haunting. RIPRobbie has a history with ghosts in his house. Unexplained noises has plagued him ever since he moved in, but somehow he had never managed to catch them on stream until finally it happened. If you're having trouble getting a modded Xbox 360 working live on stream, the last thing you want to do is have a ghost messing with you while you're trying to get everything working. This was the situation the streamer RIPRobbie found himself in back in 2016. It was a situation that Robbie was, to a degree, already used to, because he's almost certain that his house is haunted. It all starts with a single light tapping on his closet door. But that light tapping was just the ghost getting started. The Phantom seems to scale up his activities as time goes on in the stream. It goes from simply knocking on doors to somehow making his tripod collapse underneath his camera. Much like the previous entry, this ghost seems to affect technology too. The Xbox randomly just stops turning on, and the Skype call does the same thing, it just keeps dropping. Of course, as you would expect with a popular streamer, his chat gets deeply invested in what's happening, and even managed to convince Robbie that the infamous Babadook may be coming for him. The Babadook isn't real though, it's just a movie, but that doesn't mean ghosts in general couldn't be the explanation though. A poltergeist is a very likely possibility. One of the most common ghosts to ever be caught on camera are known as orbs. Cameras seem to catch orbs all the time and are responsible for tens of thousands of completely unexplainable ghost photographs. These orbs are semi-transparent white balls that float around in photographs where they really shouldn't exist. They can't be seen by the naked eye and can only be picked up by video cameras and photographs. The streamer Conman167 seems to have been in close contact with an orb in a stream where he was talking about wrestling. During his conversation, a strange milky white mist brushes past his left shoulder. It's almost unnoticeable, just a faint white misty line that drifts down behind the streamer. This marks the first time a ghost is actually shown any physical form in a video though. What's really impressive is that Conman doesn't really react that crazily to the ghost that drifts by him. He seems surprised at the specter, questioning if the rest of the stream had seen it as well, but quickly brushes it off with a shiver.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, did anybody else just see that?
Here's our honorable mention. Some people believe in ghosts a lot more than others. The guy who runs the channel Hunting the Dead is more convinced that his house is haunted than pretty much anyone else on the internet. Let's talk about his setup first, because believe me, this is maybe the spookiest setup I've ever seen. It's like he's trying to invite as many ghosts into his house as he can. The lights are all turned off except for the camera lights and the candle that he's using to light up part of his room. There's an eerie green glow on the ceiling and some really creepy wallpaper on the left wall, like this is a spooky ghost paradise. Sometimes you need to be careful what you wish for. It's clear that Hunting the Dead wants ghosts to haunt him, and it seems that's exactly what happens. Throughout this stream, it seems like the guy is trying to hold a creepy seance with the spirits in what he believes is his haunted house. Not much really happens other than him trying to talk to the ghosts, but at one point his mic does mysteriously move when he asks if anything is evil in the house with him.
Yes. Is there something evil in here right now? Yes. Is it tied to the doll?
This came shortly after he ordered the ghosts to move the doors at the back of his room, a request they complied with, having them eerily close and open by themselves. At first glance, Pokemon isn't exactly a spooky game, but when you start to read into the lore a little bit deeper, you begin to realize that the stories of some of the Pokemon are truly terrifying. Burning chandeliers that incinerate their victims, human souls turned into monsters wearing masks. The Pokemon world is spooky, and it seems like that spookiness decided to make itself known in the real world in one of Sir GaryTube's streams. The first thing that Gary noticed was that his foot was hurting, which was out of the ordinary for him. What was definitely unusual was the door closing behind him. It was obvious that there was no one on either side of the door, and yet somehow it began to completely close by itself.
I did drop my phone on it, and my phone...
Gary admits in the description that his roommate wasn't home from doing laundry, and there was no wind blowing through the house at the time. In other words, there was no reason for the door to close by itself like it did in the clip. It's understandable, but Gary was pretty surprised by the fact that his door had closed all by itself. He only even knew about the door closing because he managed to see it in his streaming program. No one in his stream seemed to notice. So Gary goes out into the hall to investigate, to see if anyone was out in the rest of the house. He was alone, and while he was out of the room, the door swung shut once again, confirming suspicions. But hey, click on screen now to check out this video. I'll see you guys there.